and welcome to today's show, Growth Without Risk. My name is Dr. Janice Hughes, and I'm really excited to bring to you today what I consider some of the best sales techniques for a professional. And why do I say that? When I was a starting chiropractor, I was so focused on being professional and the communication that I thought was going to make me professional, and what I realized I was having very little impact. So I'm really excited to bring to you today Dr. Daniel Bai, who is with Close for Chiro. So please, Dan, come on and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Janice. It's been a minute, me and you.
Yes, exactly. Welcome to COVID craziness.
I know. Thanks for having me on. And as usual, a huge shout out to ChiroSecure. They're my malpractice provider, and you guys are doing some great work these days. We appreciate it.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So let's just jump right in. Like I am interested in your perspective. I have my own ideas, but this is about you and the things that you know in the profession right now. And how do we avoid talking and selling what we do without feeling sleazy?
Yeah. So, we just had a live event this weekend in Chicago. And, I reflect on a lot of the perceptions that are out there, especially chiropractors regarding sales. And generally, it's a very negative connotation. So, for example, if I had
Right.
most of the chiropractors in the world come to my house for a party, if I announced that this is my friend, Dr. Chiropractor, he's a salesperson, no one was going to really like that too much. And that's
Hmm.
because the perception of sales is antiquated. It was I don't know, I'm aging myself now right now, but do y'all remember Cincinnati, the WPRK in Cincinnati? You got Herb
Yes.
Tarlick with the plaid jacket, big fat tie. Bad sales makes a lot of press. It makes good TV and movies about the shyster who, tricks a guy into buying a lemon when he knows it was bad, and bad
Right.
snake oil. And on top of that, the negative press our industry has suffered about selling people things that they think that they don't really need, want, or desire, that has no value. So that is the old antiquated view of sales, and that's a problem because in reality, sales is none of those things. Every
Yes.
major industry believes that knows that sales is a thing, that it's a thing, kind of like marketing is a thing, or IT is a thing, or human resources is a thing. It's just one of the elements of business that is required.
Well, and don't you think it's such an incredibly important one? Because I'll use the example that you mentioned about, PR or marketing, and so much of people's budgets are put into that. And then I hate to say it, but you have these great, profiles or promotions. People come in, and then what? And if you are not really good and clear with presenting finances or what really helps you with that, now there's a disconnect. So you spent all this money to bring them in, and now you're actually not even helping them. I like to say selling equals serving them.
Oh, so good.
So
Absolutely, it
tell
is.
me,
And
yeah, tell me about, because you work with thousands of doctors, and we both know with COVID, there's some people thriving and there's some people barely surviving. And talk to me a little bit about the trend in presenting finances, particularly so many people are realizing the craziness of insurance, people's copays anyway. Why are we not, just doing cash in many cases? But there's a lot that people don't understand. So share with everybody some of the trends that you know are out there.
oh, great question. I'll tell you the biggest trend is that transparency is now the new currency, and that is so true, especially when it comes to finances. So generally, the emotion surrounding presenting finances to patients is has been a negative one, and probably is for a lot of the chiropractors that are listening to this right now. Oh, I'm about to present finances. Oh my god, this is really bad. How do I do
Yeah.
this? I don't want to perturb them. I hope. And so what happens is that the doctor approaches the finances in a defensive, almost kind of, I'm gonna not really tell them what's really going on type. And in today's marketplace, Janice, you know better than anybody else, people's bullshit meters are very sensitive, and they just kind of
Yes.
have the notion, they know, oh, the doctor is not really being forthcoming and honest with me about it. So bottom line, and this will change your results immediately, is the next time you deal with finances, I mean, we're talking ultimate transparency. For example, hey, Janice, hey, welcome to the office, blah, blah, blah. This is how the insurance works. This is exactly how much the care is going to cost. I got a couple of options. Which one works best for you? Direct,
Mhm.
simple, concise, and that's it. And I'm telling you, when we teach this to docs literally overnight, even though they don't listen to anything beforehand, this helps because people just feel like, oh, straight shooter. All right, yeah, I don't like it that much. I mean, it's more than I wanted to spend, but
Right.
hey, I guess that's what I got to do. Okay, let's go. Game
Yeah.
over.
Absolutely. I know my own experience multiple years ago, it really transformed when I began to give people that choice. So that
Yes.
suddenly, I love that you're describing that, transparency is the new currency. Like, I think that needs to be the tagline everywhere. We'll use that as the tagline for today's show. And I just think that transparency allows you to be authentic. And I know that one of the challenges, and you brought this up so well, that it's a lot about what's in our mind, how we think about money or selling. And I can't tell you how many chiropractors now push the sales to somebody else on their team.
Oh,
And
yes.
it's because they don't want to do it. And then they
Oh, yeah.
wonder why, again, there's the lack of transparency. So
Oh,
that I
yes.
really think that's a major challenge out there.
That's huge. And Janice, the excuses I get about that. Oh, I'm too busy. One of the things that we have to do is when we say transparency is the new currency, we got to be transparent, honest with ourselves. If we know
Mhm.
that we're not skilled at something, we can't make excuses on why we're continually be unskilled. So many chiropractors in our industry right now are so unskilled in the art, science, and philosophy of sales. And on top of that, they're denying its even existence because they don't want to be accountable for the fact that they do not know how to do that thing. And that really
Correct.
irks me and that really upsets me because that literally is one of the fundamental common denominators on why our profession is stuck where it is today. We got to be honest. Hey, I'm not good at selling stuff.
Mhm.
I'm not good at having conversations with people about finances. Maybe I should learn how to go do that. Oh, what a concept. They learn it and automatically, Janet, I know you know this. You see it in your career how
Yep.
many times people with the snap of a finger go from zero to hero because they're transparent with themselves. It
Yes,
just boggles
yes.
my mind.
But, still the challenge out there, don't you think that a lot of people then say, well, they're overpromising, or how are they going from zero to hero? How did they double or triple? And I used to get that all the time, kind of in the coaching world, in the profession. I'd
Yeah,
say to people, like, you can literally double on a dime. Oh, no, no, you can't do that. Well, like you said, the authenticity, the transparency allows you to do that. And I think it's also the leader, like, stepping into the leadership. You don't have to sit and go through every detail of the finances, but if you don't set it up and if you don't set your team up for success, how's your team going to sell this?
totally. As opposed to winging it with every new patient that comes
Yes.
in, which is
Yes.
unfortunately, Janice, the norm, as you probably already know.
Yeah. And what are you seeing, like, again, whether we like it or not, this COVID, post COVID world? And I don't know that we're into full recovery yet, but, a
Yeah.
lot of things are better. But how has that even impacted this piece around the communication?
Another world class question because this is what's on everyone's mind. And we were just talking about this off camera about how we need to innovate, right? How we got to stay on
Mhm.
top of what's already happening, not be a follower, but be a leader. And the fact that you're talking about the post COVID era, which we're not even in right now, is a beautiful question. And this is my prediction. This is my humble opinion about where we are. The marketplace is sensitive. I don't think I have to convince anyone of that fact. The marketplace is not only sensitive to the social stuff, they're very much equally sensitive to the commercial stuff. Them as consumers, they are so sensitive to making sure that their dollar goes as far as that it can and that their dollar represents the highest value possible, which means that if you don't know what
Right.
you're doing and presenting what you do as valuable and unique to your patients, guess what? They're not going to buy, which means that more and more doctors are going to see more and more new patients, and less of them are going to be saying yes if you don't know what you're doing. The marketplace is so sensitive, they're so sophisticated. They may not know what's in an mRNA vaccine or which side of the political party is saying what, but they do know one thing. They know whether or not they truly want to buy something and whether or not it's worth their time, energy, and money. They know that more than anything. They are wonderful consumers. They're so smart emotionally. And so they're not going to deal with any BS. That's the
Yeah.
post COVID market, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I do some just, sort of helping, mentoring, guiding a lot of chiropractors, particularly in some of the women's groups. And last week I was looking at someone's stats who has put so much emphasis on what we talked about at the very beginning, the marketing side of it.
Yeah.
And they literally are seeing 78 new patients on average a month, but
Wow.
their numbers have been in a constant decline. And what I mean by
Mhm.
that for everyone listening is like they aren't getting people engaged in care. They have all these people coming in because of the special, because of what's being offered out there, but they are so not able to be transparent or to have themselves, be allowed to sell the uniqueness, to share the uniqueness of what they do. So
Totally.
it's interesting because that really also tells me when you look at the number of new clients that are coming into some clinics right now, and in this kind of post pandemic, and I keep saying post because I'd love to be out of it, that a lot of people are realizing, even with the craziness of media, they're realizing that it's about their health and well being. So more people are coming. They want what we have. But tell me your perspective. Like, I don't think that they're rejecting chiropractic when they don't follow the care plan or the recommendations. What are they actually rejecting, Daniel?
Oh, another fantastic question. Yeah, you're right. They're not objecting the thing with they're not objecting to the what. They're actually objecting to the who. Because
Hmm.
the person that's actually representative of the product and service has a huge plays a huge factor. They're also saying no to this thing. They're saying no to something subconscious that's telling them, you know, I'm not really sure. And as consumers, Janice, I mean, I think you understand. Like, haven't you been presented with a purchasing a thing, whether whatever it is, and then you don't really buy it, but then you come home, you're like, you know, you can't really verbalize it, but it's not something you really want right now. But you can't eloquently express why you said no to it. I'll tell you what you're saying no to.
Hmm.
They're saying the people and yourselves are saying no to the fact that it's actually not truly something that I want. I thought I wanted it, but I really don't want it. Let me give you an example, and this is so critical. Is that in a day one? So when a person first comes into the office, classically in bad sales, we're designed to plant the seeds for them. Okay. Water it, force it to grow. Let's say we want our patients to do a care plan of like, let's say a month or two. Like that's our agenda. So in the day one, we consistently lead them to make those decisions, right? And in the court of law, when you lead a witness, what is that? It's an objection, Your Honor. It's not allowed. But we somehow do it to our patients every day. So in a day one, the way we teach it is this is even the tonality of speech is monotonic, it's matter of fact, it is unbiased. Because if you can keep it that way, your patients come to the realizations on their own to the yes, as opposed to the doctors consistently manipulating the patients to say yes. So if you're consistently manipulating your patients to say yes, and eventually they do say yes, they go home and think about it. They say no. Why? Because subconsciously, somebody told them to say yes, which was not
Yeah.
authentically what they really wanted to say. I hope that made sense, but ultimately, fundamentally, that is what they're saying no to.
Yeah. And it's like, and I know there's amazing schools of thoughts, like with NLP, have them, be doing the head shake, plant those seeds, show them, the plan that you want them to take, and we're not saying that like we ourselves haven't been part of that. Like, how did you get
Mhm.
into this? Like, why did you get into this? Like, I know why I want people to learn this is because I made all those mistakes.
Yes. Well, same here, Janice. I made mistakes.
Yeah.
I I
Yeah.
made so many mistakes early in my career, and it's a blessing that I made those mistakes so early in my career. Those mistakes were so profound, and it cut so deep. I almost got out of the profession. Okay,
Yeah.
and I remember it was the year 2003, and I remember it was a February, And I remember going online. I'm thinking, okay, what else can I do? Because the rejection was overwhelming, and I didn't know how to sell something, right?
Yeah.
I just
Yep.
knew that something what didn't feel right. It was icky feeling because I was being taught to sell the old, antiquated, sleazy way. Because I've done that, didn't feel right. Because there was a problem with it ethically, and I couldn't pay my bills. That didn't help, and so I needed to get out. So that started the I guess the train on. Okay, so I have 120 new patients that I saw in the past 2.5 months. Nine of them said yes. Okay, that's a sales problem. And once I admitted that, game over. Then I had to look, and
Hmm.
unfortunately, sales training was not available in chiropractic at the time. So I had
Yeah.
to find it from other industries.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, you're a student of taking a look at like what's right in front of me. And I think that if I'd love people to take away from this, like just that realization, that example I gave, that, all these new clients, and yet you're spending all this time and all this energy processing, and that's not translating into care. It's not translating into people choosing this thing called chiropractic. Or some of you listening already have really great success because you are getting them really excited to get started with that care and sign up. And then I call it the drop visit analysis. Like, where are you losing them? Because you're losing them. You're losing them really, really quickly.
Right.
And so I think it is really embracing like why and how to learn this. And so share with the listeners. I think lots already know you, or I think it's crazy that they don't, but tell them a little bit about why you and your team created Clothes for Cairo and what you work on. And I'm excited that you just had a physical event again, because I think some of it, the power of doing this in person. So share with everybody just a couple of the gems of what you do and why you do it.
Sure. Well, there's two-part question, like why we do this. Well, fundamentally, we believe that the most important, if not one of the most important fundamental reasons why our profession is stuck, because we have left this portion of our businesses out because of the
Right.
antiquated notion of it. Number one. Number two, what we work on. Well, we could say what we have seen is that there's many people out there who cover everything, and that's fine. We love that, right? And the decision came like, what do we want to help docs, and what do we work on? Well, obviously, sales is our passion. So that's all we do. So we're not going to talk about marketing, still required, but that's not something we teach. We do it even as our own practitioners. We don't teach it. We don't talk about procedures or human resources or technique or the clinical and science behind everything else. Critically important. We don't cover that. All we do is walk a doctor through what to do and what to say when a patient first walks into your practice until the point where they're saying, yes, I want you as the solution to my very deep want, need, or desire. And I'm willing to pay what you ask me to pay. And I'm willing to comply with what you want me to comply without twisting their arm, without manipulating them, without, beating them over the head with your agenda, all about being their agenda. And you mentioned the drop visit analysis, Janice. I got to tell you, people quit when they say simply because they don't see any value in them continuing. I know it's very
Yes.
obvious, but what's the value? It has to be very selfish. It has to be from the on the part of the patient, that they're selfishly benefiting from being with you
Right.
visit after visit. And that's all we teach. And it's very deep, a ton of depth into what goes into a first visit, what goes into giving recommendations, how to handle the finances, dealing with objections, and all those things. I mean, like any great topic, it's easy to kind of learn, but it's very difficult, if not impossible, to master.
Right. And, I guess to everyone listening, what I want you to really stop and think about is, when is the last time you studied this? I think we spend so much time on our technique. We spend so much time on the marketing, money, time, and energy. We put a lot into what we do and the clinics, the practices we have. When have you ever put time and attention to this?
Yes.
And when you do this, when you get clear on this, you then don't have to walk in every day and keep trying to convince someone to continue care,
Oh,
or
please.
sigh and shrug and go, oh gosh, I don't even want to have to go in with so and so because I'm spending so much time in there, not on their care, but on convincing them to stay. So
Yes.
I think for everyone listening, like obviously, Daniel, I could ask you 100 more questions, and I'd love to. In fact, I'll make sure that we get you back. Like one of my focuses here, and thank you to ChiroSecure again for always sponsoring and promoting these things that are resources for you. Is my background as a coach, or coming from what we always called those practice management days, is that we're here to help you. We're here to bring you these tools and awareness, but then I just want you to realize, like, the depth of knowledge and resources that are available, and check out some of Dr. Daniel's profiles, their Facebook, and we'll make sure that we include all of that. So I can't thank you enough for coming on and letting me badger you with some questions. But I like to be really transparent. I love that tagline for you, that you know everything that Daniel is talking about, we cannot increase our impact without thriving practitioners. We
Yeah.
can't continue to change the health and well-being of people. So whether you like it or not, it's important to have a look at the sales, the communication around that, so that you can serve the population. So thank you again, Daniel. And next week, your host is Michael Misko for the next show, Growth Without Risk. So thank you again to ChiroSecure, and thank you everyone for listening. Have a wonderful day.